I want to direct you to the post in my description here. And we're going to talk about this lunar tetrad. And I want to talk to you about this article from International Business Times with regards to Rothschilds and the Malaysia flight 370 and this Freescale semiconductor company is a very telling article, but I really feel that it's really to divert our attention and direct our attention to certain elite families. So to begin with, how are you absorbing the energies? How are you handling your own metamorphosis, the dismantling of this system, this energetic system of your physicality? Are you noticing how maybe aspects of yourself are revealing themselves to you, aspects of yourselves that you may not have been aware of? That is the shadow aspects of the personality that is you. Because as that metamorphosis, or as these aspects of yourself reveal themselves to you, that enables you to see through the veil, the lens of deception that you may be imposing upon yourself and deceiving yourself into thinking that you are a certain way, and yet there are aspects of you that you aren't even aware of. So that's the opportunity now with this Cardinal Grand Cross. It's really a significator, or provides a significance to me, of an opportunity for those of us who wish to engage this process to dismantle energetically off our physical form, so that more awareness that we are can experience itself through us. And this lunar tetrad is a very significant marker, I believe, or a ritual of sorts, for a false flag on the physical world stage that'll be coming, and I believe it'll be financial in nature. This aspect of me that is experiencing this physical dimension as awareness has an ability that is coming through of what I call precognition. There's certain things that I'm able to see. I don't know for sure, but this is what is propelling me or driving me forward. And to sharing, I had a premonition before Malaysia flight 370 to look at Lord Jacob Rothschild. I didn't know why. And as I'll explain to you in this article, now I can connect the dots as to why. And so what I'm sensing is the power control force, they understand humanity, they understand human behavior, and they understand the metamorphoses that we are undertaking at this particular time in human history, in that it is causing us to acquire some of our innate abilities that they would rather us not acquire, and to come to know ourselves as awareness. And that is why we are distracted, and they divert our attention and cause us to debate one another in order to create more confusion through all their intellectual systems that they've designed, and the minions of intellectuals that have co-opted themselves, sold out to the system in order to lure you, willingly or not, into believing what it is that they have to say, so that you start parroting their beliefs as opposed to thinking for yourselves. It's a socially induced awakening, and yet the power control force know that many will be able to awaken on their own and come to their own gnosis and be able to maneuver and create within the system, despite the fact that it is dissolving. Yes, this system, this physical world system, is a finite system. We are immersed in a virtual reality of sorts based on this program called consciousness, which is a con. And this physical world system is literally a house of cards, which is based on a lie, on a number of lies, on many, many, many lies. But it's a house of cards. And the power control force know that the system is dissolving itself. And they are trying very hard to keep it afloat. And in our lifetime, yours and mine, there will be changes, but the physical world system will not dissolve. It will continue for some time. And so while many will think or believe that the lunar tetrad will signify the end of the world, really what it signifies is a new beginning, an opportunity for awareness to come to know itself in physical form. It will become a common phenomena, and it will no longer be something elusive such as enlightenment, which is only for a special few. No, as awareness, you are in a position to dismantle this energetic system of physicality and experience yourself as awareness in physical form. It has never been done before. It's an experiment, and so we are immersed in this grand experiment. So as I said, the lunar tetrad for many will signify the end of the world, but I truly believe it's signifying a new beginning, or a new beginning for those who wish to engage the process of their unfoldment as awareness, but for many it will also be the trigger for the next false flag, which I will talk about, but I believe that it will be of a financial significance for many. If we look at the tetrad, a tetrad is when 4 consecutive lunar eclipses are all total eclipses. The group is known as a tetrad. What is of great significance is that these tetrads have all been aligned with Jewish feast days. Now, that's not a coincidence, it's all by design. Many who believe in the Bible, that is, they take it literally, that it potentially means the end of the world. And the power control force know this. Because the Bible is one of the most well-read books on the face of the earth. But the problem is that most people take it literally, and yet it's full of allegory, fables, and tales. It was never meant to take literally, but what it does is it provides, at a very deeper level, the opportunity for humanity to come to a greater understanding of the physiology of humanity and the metamorphosis that they can undertake, and how they can reach their ascension. That's what the Bible was meant to, is what it's hiding from the masses. That is. Another thing about a tetrad, if we look at it from a deeper level, a tetrad has a great significance to 23 chromosomes, and that is an indication to me that has a lot to do with our individual and collective metamorphosis. But that is obscured from the masses as well, because if you look up the word tetrad, there are different meanings, the lunar tetrad being one, but it also has a meaning regarding the 23 chromosomes. So this is another example of how information is used to obscure the reality of the underlying meaning of things to come. If we look at the lunar tetrad from the historical standpoint, we can understand that there are 4 lunar tetrads that have happened throughout history, starting at 70 AD. And the first one was the Imperial Roman persecutions. That was when the first Tetrad series happened, very similar to the one that we are in the midst of. And it signaled the destruction of the Jewish temple in 70 AD and marked the beginning of the diaspora, or exile, of the Jewish nations, not to be regathered. The next set of lunar tetrads involved the Islamic conquest, and that was the advent of a Muslim faith heralding the true revelation of the one God, seeks to eradicate and deny the basic tenets of established Judeo-Christianity, mainly the work on the cross and person of Jesus Christ. The next series of lunar tetrads happened during Roman Catholicism in the Inquisition. Believe it or not, the reconquest and emergence as a world superpower expelled the Jews from Spain and ushered in a dark time of persecution. Interesting. And then the last series of lunar tetrads happened in the 1940s during the Holocaust, and that was the German Nazi Party sought to exterminate the Jewish nation. So all of the lunar tetrads have a significant alliance or allegiance to the Jewish people. And as I've been telling you about the Israeli-Palestinian talks, which were supposed to happen on April 17th, and now they've been deferred, and they have till April 29th to come to some resolution. Otherwise, they're just going to not have the talks. I find it very interesting that this is right around this series of lunar tetrads. Again, all of this is by design. There's no coincidence. It's just an opportunity to see how we're being played and how the power control force are unfolding their agenda. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention to you was that my interest in Lord Jacob Rothschild, I didn't know why I was looking into him, but he is an elite family. And I was just following premonition here and our precognition. And I was looking into him, and never looked into him before. I was reading about the Rothschild family and their holding companies and their investment companies, and just getting understand the inner workings of this family. And lo and behold, I found this article in International Business Times, which I'll touch base with you on, which just connects Rothschild with the Malaysia Flight 370 and Freescale Semiconductor, the 20 employees that were on that flight from this particular company, Freescale Semiconductor. But again, it's all a script. It's all a narrative designed to immerse you in the socially induced awakenings, to distract your attention. What I'm sensing here, I'm feeling here, is that they want us to focus on certain elite families. There's a lot of discussion about, in the conspiracy circles, about the Illuminati and it consisting of 13 families. These are the families they want you to know about, they want you to be privy of. But I'll have to tell you, and you probably understand this too on a certain level, you have to see that this is a front. They don't want us to know who's really operating behind the veil. And yet they know that as awareness, we are waking up or have the potential to see through what they are spoon-feeding us. And I give an example. When I was in my early 20s, I was in university in New York. I got a degree in economics. and I worked for an investment firm for 5 years. And the individual I worked for was part of the Tisch family. And the Tisch family, I had heard from friends and colleagues that they were a very prominent family in New York, elite family. And I didn't know anything about them. And I just happened to be looking, and for many, many years, I never really looked into their family background because I worked for one of the sons whose father had accumulated a substantial amount of wealth. The family is worth 21 billion. 21 billion people, and they own buildings and investment holdings, and they own all kinds of things. A very wealthy family. And so people indicated to me, about this family, and I just never really thought to even look into their family. And the reason is the gentleman that I work for, their son of this wealthy family, he was very discreet. You wouldn't know that of the wealth that he had. He was not flaunting his wealth. And they don't. They hide behind their wealth. They don't flaunt it. So I never got any inclination to look into this family up until now. And this is like 25 years later. Now, looking back in retrospect, I go, wow, I worked for one of those elite families. Interesting. But they were so discreet. And so those that are actually the movers and shakers in this world hide behind a veil. And they're very discreet. They don't want you to know who they are. So I found it quite interesting that 25 years later, here I am researching this company and learning a little bit, or this Tisch family, and learning a little bit about them. And one of the things that really stood out for me, where I make another connection here, is that Lawrence Tisch, the father of this great wealth, the family, died in 2002 on November the 15th. So I looked up November the 15th. Simply because apparently his brother, who he had worked with, I guess, to build the wealth in this family of 21 billion, Robert Tisch, died on the same day he did a year later. Because numbers are very important to the power control force. So I had to look up, how would this Lawrence Tisch and his brother die on the same day 1 year apart? And I thought to myself, there's got to be something here. So I'm looking at November 15th and all the events that happened on November the 15th over time on Wikipedia. And one thing that stood out for me was on November 15th, I can't remember exactly, but November the 15th was the day that Heinrich Himmler, which was an SS commander appointed by Hitler, who started concentration camps. It was the opening of the concentration camps. And I thought that was interesting because the Tisch family is a Jewish family. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I thought, I've connected that with the Lunar Tetrads and then with this Rothschild. And what I'm learning about Rothschild is that family owns a lot of real estate in Israel, apparently. And their cemetery, the Rothschild cemetery, is in Israel. And I'm thinking, well, the Star of David, the Rothschilds, we're in this Lunar Tetrad. And the Lunar Tetrad, the last Lunar Tetrad, was signaled the Holocaust in the German Nazi parties, extermination of the Jewish nation. And I'm thinking, well, that ties in with the Star of David and the hydrogen atom that I've been talking about, which underlies all things, which underlines this energetic system that we are so immersed in. And then I'm thinking about Bruno Mars and and the Super Bowl. He was at the Super Bowl. If you look at if you look at Bruno Mars's drum set, he's got a heart on the front of the drums. And then if we go to Katy Perry's Dark Horse Rises video, we've got this picture of the eclipse. And it's saying the eclipse. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe that's referencing this lunar tetrad, obviously. And then on April the 7th, we have this Sun, Earth, Mars alignment, and a number of events happening. I mean, the British royals are in Italy, visiting the Vatican, and the president of Italy. And then we have Kate and William touring Australia and New Zealand. And I thought to myself, oh, that's interesting. And then I look at the Rothschild seal, and the Rothschilds actually they changed their name from Bauer to Rothschild, and Rothschild means red shield. That's what it means, red shield. And I thought, if you look at the Rothschild red shield, it has a trident, and it has this ball with a cross on the top. And these eagles are holding it, and it's red. It's a red symbol. You can see it here. And I'm thinking that shield is a reference to the heart. And to come to know awareness, the Rothschild shield, I believe, is a reference to the heart. And this Bruno Mars. And so if we look through the layers and layers, and yes, in order to reach your ascension, you have to go through the heart. Transcend the ego and go through the heart. And so what I'm getting here is that the Rothschilds are very significant. I mean, they're worth 500 billion, let alone 21 billion. The Rothschilds signify the denial of your ascension, or that's what they are wanting us to subliminally, or they want to subliminally suggest that this elite family is the master deceiver or controller of the awareness that is you. But far from that. So I find it very interesting. And then if you look at I'm gonna show you a picture here. If you look at the Rothschild shield, again, it means red shield, and you see the trident. The bird is holding a trident, and it's holding a ball with a cross on the top. I believe that's Neptune. And interesting enough, when the Queen visited Italy and the Vatican on April the 4th, the Pope gave a ball very similar to the one that you see in the Rothschild shield with a cross on the top, a blue ball, that is, with a cross on the top for Prince George. So I thought that was quite interesting. Again, I'm just making some connections here. But everything underlies all these rituals, these visits, these elite families are participating in an aristocratic coup d'etat of your essence as awareness. It's all they're participating in, and they're trying very hard to keep the system intact and directed in their own direction. So it's very interesting. And Rothschild connection to free-scale semiconductor is very interesting and telling in this article, which I'll cover some of the highlights. So MH370, how fatal is a chip that Rothschild reportedly acquired. According to the Australian government, MH370, they were trying to locate the missing plane. And anyway, if you can read through that, but what I want to mention to you here is that apparently here's the conspiracy. Intel Hub News reported that MH370 missing or taken down, that Lord Jacob Rothschild acquired a patent for a potent chip created by 20 employees of Freescale Semiconductor, and they were aboard MH370. Freescale Semiconductor confirmed that the 20 employees were among the 239 passengers aboard, 12 from Malaysia and 8 from China. However, they didn't want to mention the employees' names, mainly because I don't think they exist. I think this is an old made-up story. Anyway, their comment was, Freescale's comment from one of their executives there says that due to the privacy of the families and that the fact that these employees had a lot of technical background and they were important people, that they wanted to keep their names from being told to the public. Again, it's all made up. It's a story that they're trying to feed us in order to divert or direct our attention to Rothschild. Okay, so here's a little bit of information about the chip. It is detailed that Freescale launched on April 8th. Freescale Semiconductor launched what could be the world's smallest microcontroller called the Kinesis KL02. KL02 measures 1.9 mm by 2 mm and contains RAM, ROM, and a clock. Even with its minute size, KL02 might be the most potent next-generation war weaponry. So again, Rothschild being connected to a patent which is a technology used for war. So how they're trying to associate him with this patent, and that they're not coming out and saying directly, but that he had something to do with the downing of this flight, which is all a story designed to weave and deceive you. So anyway, this technology, this next generation war weaponry, could be controlled and programmed and utilized to employ drones smaller than flies. Small-sized drones were allegedly being used to deliver lab-cloned viruses or toxic instruments for spreading plagues, viruses, and diseases, and it can be used to track spy satellites of large scale and hidden weaponries. KL2 could also be injected into devices like Google Glass. I've talked about Google Glass, to render the device obsolete or have the device controlled, more importantly, I think, from someone aside from its owner. Here we are, complete and utter control of your essence. Why would International Business Times be exposing this technology at this level? Because they want to divert and direct your attention to this story so that you will believe what you're reading, but it's all made up to divert your attention. The chip is also significant in making plausible Pentagon's ultimate dream of human-controlled robotic warrior. It can be injected to bionic prosthetics to control robotic nerves and limbs. So here we're talking about transhumanism, the transhumanism agenda. Killing the creators of this chip will prevent any leakage or selling of the technology to the Chinese outside Malaysian government. This is what the conspiracy theorists are saying. It is widely known that China is in its way of advancing the military applications technology for warfare. They're well on their way to doing that. The Malaysian government, on the other hand, is rumored to have acquired rights to a powerful chip which can alter barcode tags in retail goods and be inserted into human body, bypass identity verifications. And to top it up, Rothschild family reportedly owns the Malaysian Central Bank, which has significant investments in Malaysian government and the Malaysian Airlines. So here again, they wanted you to focus on the Rothschilds. So remember I said, I think that this is leading up to the next false flag with these lunar tetrads. So I was looking a little bit deeper, and I was like, I'm looking a little bit deeper into companies like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Citibank, because I haven't looked very much at these banks in the United States. And I was like, looking into these banks, and I'm seeing all these connections of who owns what. They're all intertwined. There's all these interconnections. And I thought to myself, yet they're telling the masses through their propaganda machines, the media, that there's going to be this financial collapse. And I'm thinking, there's no way. There's absolutely no way there could be any type of financial collapse other than something that's manufactured, because there's too many interconnections in the ownership of these large institutional banks. And yes, in 2008, with Bank of America, and they had this whole $7 billion bailout saying, oh, the banks are too big to fail. They are too big to fail. If you look at the interconnections here, there's no way these elite families would no longer exist if you look into the ownership of these large institutional banks in the U.S. and I'm sure around the world. There's too many connections. So there's no way that there's going to be any significant financial collapse. Yes, there'll be pockets of it, and people will lose their jobs and lose their homes. Yes, there'll be pockets of that, very similar to what we experienced in 2008. But a complete, utter control of collapse of this system? No, that will never happen. It will never happen, especially not in our lifetime. But it's interesting how they play that. And so we live in a system which is really trying to keep us in utter fear and paralysis. But if you look at the interconnections, do your own homework. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that this system, the financial system, will collapse. It can't. Because if it does, then it will take all the elite families out with them. So they would be collapsing their own system. But I also found it interesting that in Canada, right around this time, we have Flaherty, John Flaherty, who resigns as a finance minister, and then 3 weeks later he dies. I thought that was kind of interesting. That is on the 15th or 16th. They had the funeral, but I thought that was very interesting. Significator about financial industry in Canada and its tie-in with what I think is coming is going to be some type of financial collapse in the United States. So anyway, the last thing I wanted to leave you with was with this woman in Norway. Her name is Ingunn Sigurdsdatter. She was born into a religious and politically active family in Norway. Her grandfather was a prominent Norwegian politician for 20 years and head of the leftist party. She has degrees in languages and social sciences. She has founded and co-founded 3 companies, taught at university, high school, and an alternative school. Her profound change in direction resulted in a decision to turn in her passport to the city of where she lives, city mayor, and relinquish her citizenship, causing much commotion in the national media. So she has claimed herself to be a sovereign individual and given up her passport and her identity, her name and her identity as well. Watch out for people like this. She is a plant. She is a minion for the power control force. And no different than this girl I talked to you about, Josie the Outlaw, who I've been watching in the United States. These are 2 females that are allowing themselves to be used, who are symbolic of austerity and or sovereignty. Do not give away your passport. Do not give away your identity. You need those things. Don't do what this woman is doing. Don't use her. She's not an example of sovereignty. You must become sovereign. You can only become sovereign when you know who you are as awareness. Then you come to know your sovereignty. Then you come to experience your sovereignty, and you come to experience your freedom. There is no need for you to give up your passport and your name and all those things that you identify with in physicality, in this physical world, in order to establish yourself as a sovereign free being. It's an inside job that you do. You need your passport, you need identification in order to experience yourself in this physical world. All this woman is doing is denying herself the opportunity to freely move within this system. Don't be conned into these games. The only way that you can seek sovereignty and freedom is by coming to know that you are a sovereign being, by dismantling energetically off your physical form this physical world system. Energetically. That's the only way that you can do it. You need your passport. You need your identification so that you can travel within this system. Don't be foolish. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people will probably follow this woman because they will figure they have no other recourse than to become an example of what they think is sovereignty and freedom. It has nothing to do with your sovereignty and freedom. You need your passport and you need your name, your identification to actually maneuver in this system. You become free and sovereign when you come to know self as awareness. Simply put. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this sharing. Stay tuned. The energies are so powerful. It's an opportunity for you to embody and experience your metamorphosis. We've been having these planetary alignments, as I've been mentioning on my Facebook page. If you want to join me on Facebook, my name is KERRACE Alexander. You can join me there. I do share there frequently. And I really encourage you to engage these energies and enjoy the opportunity that you have to dismantle the system off of you energetically. And this Cardinal Grand Cross is just a marker. It's just a marker coming in the next couple of days for us to experience more of self as awareness in physical form. I thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.